Hi, and welcome to episode 19, where we'll be talking about style. Actually, we've been talking about this behind the scenes where we haven't really discussed it in the podcast, but we have decided to kind of switch up how we look in our YouTube videos. And we're trying not to put so much pressure on ourselves to look a certain way and just show up and talk. And instead of try and present ourselves with tons of makeup and dress a certain way. And yeah.
Which was adding a ton of stress and
yeah,
time, and
yeah.
it was completely unnecessary. And we were like, why are we
Why
doing
are
this
you
when we
putting
are not like that?
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So it ties up nicely to this episode
Mhm.
about style and illustration, because the whole thing that we were discussing about style in our clothing, our makeup, and our hair and all of that, and it wasn't us. It's not who we are
Right.
as people, and these expectations of what you should look like and what you should behave like and all that. And it ties nicely to style and illustration as well. So
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
get there.
I agree. Yeah, so what have you been up to, Olga?
um I got the proofs for my book, and
Ooh,
that happened this week, and it was exciting to see it all together.
yeah.
um
That's so
with
cool.
choosing the paper and all that. Yeah, I saw a few pages before, but to see the entire thing, everything,
Mm,
jacket, cover, and every single page, and I poured over everything to make sure that it was all good, and it's it's ready. So very exciting.
very cool.
um what made me happy is looking through it, and I've know the story back and forth, and I know every section about this book, but actually seeing it and flipping the pages, and I chuckled a few times about the reaction that the dog has, and that made me happy. I'm like, oh, if I make myself a little bit laugh a little bit, even after I already know, I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, this is a nice scene. It might work. So we'll see how it goes. What else? Let me see. Oh yeah,
Oh, your mentorship?
so I finished a bunch of mentorships. Yeah, and I'm done with them. I noticed that, which is I'm very grateful about the mentorships and taking on clients that want some advice and portfolio reviews. I'm really grateful about that. But when I take on too many, I do notice that it kind of uses all the creative juices that I might have, and then
Yeah.
I have nothing left for me, and I have not been writing. My
Yeah.
aqua pad, it was the
Yeah.
one I have in my shower, empty for a couple of months, like no notes or anything. I was like, there's just nothing coming out.
Yeah.
And when I finished some mentorships, and because I was doing like critiques for a lot of books and manuscripts, and then on top of that, for our critique group,
Hmm.
I wasn't writing. So I finished them, and sure enough, a couple of weeks after that, bloop, just an
Things
idea
started
came.
flowing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is a good thing. I'm going to take, I have a couple of mentorships that I'm still doing, but then after that, I think I'm going to take a little break and
Yeah.
take more time to write. I need new stories and new dummies. And I liked it when I had a lot of stories and all I have to do was draw the illustrations for them. And right
Hmm.
now I have nothing. So I need to get back on it. And looking forward, we're going to try to record 2 episodes here because I'm going on vacation in 4 days.
Soon.
So I know, and there's so much. I have a list of things I need to get done before we go, but I'm super excited because it's going to be nice. I need a little break. What are you up to?
I finished the coloring book I was working on, and now I moved on to an activity book for the same topic, but for older children. Um, I think I hope it'll be done in a few weeks. Um, I had family visiting, so that we've had family visiting on and off, gosh, since May. It's just that time of year. And I think, with COVID winding down, it's so many things are happening now that have not happened in years. Yeah, like we just saw family members we hadn't seen in 2 years. And
Wow.
you think about that, especially for kids, they grow up so fast. So it's just kind of, it's such a shock to see them after you, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I have not seen you in 2 years, and now you're like a teenager when before you were a preteen. It's so it's just really surreal, and there's just so much catching up to do. But then there's all these other things that are happening that have been closed down for like 2 years, like like conventions and picnics and things people are doing, family reunions, all kinds of stuff keeps happening. So it almost feels a little, it's also kind of overwhelming because it just feels like we've had this 2-year break where nothing was happening, and now all of a sudden it's just like the floodgates are opening and
you're out of practice on how to socialize.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing I was saying. I'm not used to having many, like multiple people over at a time. I don't remember how to entertain. I don't remember how to prepare food
I don't remember how to human.
Yeah, I don't remember how to talk to people anymore. It's weird. But it's also been fun. Yeah, it's been really fun just seeing people and getting to do things that we haven't been able to do for like 2 years. So yeah, lots of family and activities. This summer's been really busy. And then also we just started our illustration community on Facebook.
Yeah.
And that's been really cool. I mean, it hasn't even been going that long, but it's slowly building, and we're doing things and critiquing and talking, and it's really cool. I like
Yeah,
it.
I'm excited about that too. And seeing that people are jumping in and giving each other advice and
Mm-hmm.
sharing opportunities that they hear about. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I was a little bit hesitant. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is another thing that we're piling up on top.
Yeah.
But I know it was important to do, and it is going well.
Yeah.
We'll see how big it gets, but right now it's manageable for sure.
Yeah. And I think also we used to focus a lot of time on social media like Instagram, and that is a good
I haven't.
way. No, but we haven't lately. But I think part of it is I like being there, but I don't feel like we get the same amount. I just don't feel like the interaction on Instagram is the same as what we can get in our Facebook group, where we can like carry on a conversation back and forth, and everyone can read it and participate and get notifications and see, the conversation all together. I don't know. It's just a different atmosphere, and I really like it.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. It's the other one is like you post, you get a few comments, but you can't, yeah, like you said, you
It's
can't really
just,
go back and forth with the conversation.
yeah, it's not the same environment. So yeah.
Let's see. I think we're gonna go jump into it. We're recording at night.
Yeah,
Usually
it's
with
dark in here.
mornings.
It's really dark.
Happening like so I'm like you're like your second cup of coffee, I think. I had one.
Yeah.
Can I stop in between to get another one so we can get them done? So we're talking about style, and you will probably see some shorts when we were short videos when we're discussing. We're like, why are we doing all this? Why are we going through all of these all this trouble when we're going to record, when just to look a certain way that we really shouldn't have to. And that's how we were tying it to this episode that's going to be about style and illustration. And it also came up about, because I was doing some portfolio critiques and noticing the way some of the characters were being drawn in one scene but not in the other. And then I was explaining that the difference between style and a mistake, and that's how this whole episode came about. So we'll tie it all together somehow. We'll start.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about our styles now and how they have changed over time also, and how they will continue to change. They have to keep evolving, because the more we learn, the more we incorporate into our illustration. So I have noticed that, like, for me, I used to draw with a lot of curves but I am actually trying to be more conscious about adding straight lines next to the curves so that it has more of a balance and that push and pull. Like I am very familiar with the S and how can I say it? Like you want a curve that is going one way, and then you want a straight, and you want a curve that is going the next way, the other way. And I was always very soft with my curves, but I didn't have a lot of straight, strong lines before. And I'm trying to incorporate that more in my illustrations, and I'm doing it consciously. And the more I do it, then it becomes part of my language that I use to draw something. So that's what I know that I have been doing consciously to switch my style over a little bit and just make it a little bit more edgy, not too much, but just a little bit more punch in certain areas. And if you remember, when we met, I simplified my style a lot to make it fit picture books better.
Yeah.
So the anatomy, I changed a lot. I used to like put every little elbow bump and every little curve that the body had, and it wasn't necessary for the language that goes into picture books. So I went ahead and simplified that a lot. And the other thing that I've noticed is that I am using more color in my shadows. I used to always like go with the purple and the blues and put that in your shadows in the multiply layer. But now I'm using more normal layers and just making it a color. And I like that. I like that it's giving me so unexpected shadows. So I know that that's something I am consciously doing also to switch my style over a little bit. What I think I want to, and I've been trying to do for a long time, but I don't think I'm doing it successfully yet, is adding more texture to my illustrations. I want them to be a lot looser and rough and, I told you, like yummy, like
Yeah.
you can feel
And
it.
delicious.
I think delicious, and I think it's missing that still, and I'll keep
Mhm.
striving towards that. But yeah, that's what I know that I'm trying to push my style to hit a different way, and
Mhm.
I'm happy where it is now, but I know I want to go somewhere else. And what about you?
Yeah, my style was really simple in the beginning, and I think that's because, actually thinking back also, I think that's because I started drawing in Adobe Illustrator, and that's a vector-based program. And so you focus more on shapes and just simple shapes, and you can get really complicated with it or add more details with it and have highlights and shadows, but it's not like working with brush strokes in Photoshop. And my goal when I originally started in illustration was more for surface pattern design and stationery and simple. So the illustrations were simpler because they translate better to patterns and they're easier to put into patterns and put and repeat on stationery and stuff like that. But then when I transitioned over to picture books, I wanted to have a more painterly style with more detail and texture, and so that I've slowly transitioned into that, which is interesting because we're both coming from like kind of different different ends of the spectrum, kind of trying to find our place in the middle.
Kind of meet in the middle.
Mhm. But yeah, that's where I think I've transitioned from into with my style.
So I think one of the questions that I keep asking, and you often hear is like, what is my style and how do I find my style? And what it's, like we said before, styles change through time, and it's
Mhm.
sometimes they are intentionally based, and sometimes it's by chance. Sometimes you just do something and you like it, and it's like serendipity, and you just go with it, and then you keep doing it. But intentionally, you have to keep doing it.
Mhm.
So you have to be aware that styles change, and kind of like clothing, you know, the stuff that you wore in the 80s is not the same thing that you wore in the 90s and the 2000s,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing. Your
Yeah.
style and illustration will change.
Yeah.
So this rush to find a style, I think is better to learn to draw, and the style
Mm.
comes as you're going. It's not like it's not. I, I'm gonna I'm reading something that I wrote that I like is, um your style is not a destination, it's part of the journey, it's part of your journey
Yeah.
to through illustration. It's not where you're arriving to. So
Yeah.
it will also change depending on what you're using. Is, you
Yeah.
know,
Your
with the
materials.
materials. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your technique, your skills, all of that affects the style that you're illustrating in.
Yeah. And like with both of us, you started in traditional and I started with digital. And so those are two very different mediums, and learning how, and then once, and then if you transition from one to the other, because we're both trying to make digital look more painterly and more traditional, that's kind of the goal in picture books usually. So, and I don't know where I was going with that. I guess part of your style's influence when you transition from one medium to another, you kind of take part of that with you. And
Yeah, so I remember when I was going from traditional to digital, and remember I told that we will talk about the struggle that I had finding the values and coming up with all of that. I don't think I was worried about what style it was going to be. I was just worried about, like, can this illustration be done? How can I make it look good, look believable? And
mhm,
that was failing. I wasn't getting that. So who cares what style it would have been in? I do remember getting something. I remember presenting an illustration that was done with all the flats in very simplified, kind of like I said, the 1950s style, that that is just blocks of shapes and colors, and it's very minimalist in the way that that the characters are drawn, and
mhm,
it's more like geometric shapes. And I said to the art director, I said, this style seems to call, or seems to be what people are responding to most. And what he noticed, he goes, it's not that this style is working better than this other one. It's just the values on it are working better. And then I realized, okay, I don't have to go and try to mimic that style. What I have to do is work on my values and then draw the way I actually draw.
mhm.
So that, yeah, that's where we sometimes make a mistake of thinking that is the style of your illustration that is not working, instead of the actual fundamentals of your drawing skill.
Yeah.
Um,
Or that you have to have a specific style, or that you can't bring your style with you when you change mediums.
right, yeah. So then, what is a mistake and what is a style? Like we have to be honest about certain things. So mistake versus style. So if you're drawing people and the proportions are weird, say you're making one eye bigger than the other, or the arms and the proportions of the body, the legs, the arms, the neck is really long and thin. If you are consistently doing this, then by choice, that's what you're trying to do. You want your characters to look weird, eerie, quirky, however it is that or you're consistently drawing uh people that have no, and maybe the arms start right here. That's your style choice, but then you are doing that, then all your characters in your illustration look like that. But if in one scene you're drawing them that way, but in the other scene you're drawing them another different way, and your proportions keep changing, then that is not really a style. It's a mistake. You're actually using the wrong proportions for that character. And if you get a critique when someone is telling you the scene, your proportions look a little bit off, and I think it's a mistake, or one quick thing that people jump into is like, oh, that's because that's my style. And then, what I would suggest is like, hold on, like really, really look to see if it's your style, or if you're making a mistake that can be rectified, that will make your illustration better.
Well, I think
Um,
sometimes people use that as it's kind of like they hide behind that, because if you say, well, that's my style, then I don't have to fix it. And I can just,
yeah,
I can just let it keep happening.
that's what I mean by is it intentional? Are you
Mhm.
doing this intentionally?
Yeah.
Because you want to say something with it. Do you want, you want your scenes to look like this? If you're always choosing blue for a wall, is it because you don't know how to handle orange and yellows
Yeah.
and greens, or because you like blue and this is the color that you want because you want all your scenes to be like this?
Yeah.
Everything can be, the style can be the way you draw, the colors you're choosing, the way you're putting the material, the mediums, the way you're using them.
Mhm.
Maybe like, for example, if you just splatter color, but then you go on top of it and you do a like a very loose energetic line drawing on top of it, that is a style. That is absolutely legitimate style. I'm not going to say, oh, you have made that mistake. These are clear choices that this artist is making. And I'm sure if I turn the page, it's going to be done again and then again and again. And if I go to the portfolio, that's exactly what I am going to see. That is their
Mhm.
style.
Why should you not worry about finding a style right away?
You know that I have to switch my style because I get bored of it.
Mhm.
Like, maybe sometimes it's just not doing it anymore. And you're like, okay, it's
Yeah.
kind of repetitive. Or when you feel like you need to freshen up or just do something different, then
Yeah.
it's time to move on. You want to try something new.
Yeah. Well, and well, like, when I had to draw black and white cats for a year, I, and I feel bad for people, not bad, but I mean, I can understand how people who draw book series could easily get bored of drawing that over and over and over and over and over again over a period of like 2 to 3 to 4 years, and that could probably propel you to a completely different style of drawing because you want to get away from that. You don't want to be stuck in that anymore. And that's probably that would be like your style being influenced by the art you've been hired to do rather than the art you're doing for fun. um
Yeah, I imagine I haven't not done it. You have.
yeah.
You have that experience that the project forced you to be in a style that you were like not happy to do.
Yeah. And but I think, but as illustrators, that's kind of that can be something that happens to all of us if we end up getting a project that I think it happens more in self-publishing than in traditional, but I think in traditional you have a little more freedom to develop your own look to the characters and develop your own, um, put more of your own style into it rather than
I
in
think
self-publishing.
I think the difference that we have found is that in traditional you seem to get hired for the work that you do, and
Yeah.
a lot of times in self-publishing you get hired to do the job they want because the price is right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not every time, but it seems to be the thing too. Like,
Mhm.
when I see like posts looking for affordable illustrator that can do this style, and they post a picture of what they want, but they want
Yeah.
an illustrator that can do that style for an affordable price. And it sounds like that's not why you should be hiring that illustrator. Like, I
Mhm.
don't.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's working backwards. That's completely different.
Yeah.
You're asking an illustrator to draw in a different style than their own, or a style similar. Maybe it might be similar to what they draw, but that's still not. You should be looking for illustrators who draw in a style that you like, and then find out how much they cost. not, not
Right. And then try to like know what you want for your book, have a vision for your book, and go like,
Mhm.
okay, let me find this artist. So let me look through
Mhm.
portfolios and go, okay, I like the way this artist draws. I can
Yeah.
see my book being done that way, and then hire that person.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work like that. So it is what it is. But here
Yeah.
we go. um, so how, if you do want to move on to another style, if you do want to try to find, you have already, you're drawing, you are comfortable in your drawing skills, and you can always improve, you can always move forward, you can always learn more. But if you're going like, okay, now that I'm consistently drawing like this, and my illustrations have been, they're working, they're communicating correctly, but I wish I could do a different style, I wish my illustration looked more like this, how would you change it? It's going to take some action on your part to try to move on to the style that you're envisioning, that you want your artwork to go to.
Mhm.
So a good way to do that is to find an illustrator that you like,
Yeah.
and find the style that you like, find and then try to draw it again. But I don't mean tracing it, I mean draw it with your line, your own movement of your hand. Don't go slowly trying to draw exactly what they drew. Draw, pick up what it is that you like about that style. Is it the way that they make the curves? Is it the line quality? Is it
Or the shapes they use, the basic shape
yes,
structures they use for their characters can be very different than what you're doing.
and incorporate that into your
Mhm.
drawing, like, but over and over and over again. It's repetition. It's repetition until that becomes part of your actual language. And the beauty is that you don't end up copying that illustrator, because what you learn from that person marries with what you already do,
Yeah.
and becomes a new thing, becomes your thing.
Yeah, I did that a few years ago. I did that a lot when I was trying to change my style and improve on it. And I called them artist copies or art. No, I called it artist studies, I think. Yeah, and I would take a picture
I
book and
remember.
yeah, and I did where Ocean Meets Sky by the Fan Brothers, and I just did sketches from their book in my kind of in my own style, but also in trying to emulate theirs and their artwork. And then I also did the book about the bear in the river, and I can't remember the name of the book.
I remember those studies. And you
Yeah,
were doing that. You were studying. You were
yeah,
literally
yeah.
learning
So I took my
a different style
favorite.
of illustration.
They were all really different artist illustration styles, but each one had a thing that I really liked that I was hoping I could try to incorporate. I wish I should do those more. They were fun.
We should do them again.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah,
I think
it did help.
it's fun to study. Yeah, it's fun to study the way other illustrators handle their storytelling in a picture book too. It's cool to to try to emulate it and reproduce it.
It's what we're supposed to be doing anyway. When we're reading a book, and when we take books out of the library, read the text. That's the same text that illustrator got, and then look
Hmm.
at the illustration, and
Yeah.
then notice how they decided to illustrate that scene. Did they draw exactly what the text is saying, or did they draw something different? Do they have a sub story coming in? But
Yeah.
also, what angle did they use? What is it about that illustration that is saying something that is attracting you to it?
Yeah.
It's studying. That's all it is. It's just learning.
Hmm.
Another thing that you can do is to switch up the medium that you use. And I bring that. I remember when I bought a brush for the iPad, and it was very textured. And I think by that time I did an illustration of the boy in a laundry room,
Mm.
and it was the first time using that brush, and it was very different from how I usually color.
Hmm.
And it gave me the freedom to be a little looser with it, and I fell in love with that, and to get away from using the line everywhere.
Mhm.
And slowly I was able to get away with like, okay, maybe I don't need to put the line in all of this area and just where I need it. And I think that was one of the where I noticed a change in the way I started working. And it was because of a brush that that I like, that
Mm.
gave me that freedom to try something else. And I still did a few more after that, and I have gone back to using more line and less line. But now at least I gave myself permission to not have to use as much line in some areas, and it'll keep evolving.
Yeah. And I mean, it can be, it could be that you go back to just to traditional, which you kind of did that for teaching, like you taught some traditional classes. But I'm sure
Oh
like
yeah, and that was
it kind of brings more inspiration when you play in different mediums.
it. Yeah, it does. I wish I could say that I have been able to completely do what I do traditional into the iPad, but it's not the same. It's just not the
Yeah.
same. The way you hold the brush when you're painting with acrylic directly on the canvas, and the way you have to, like, if I want to chisel some things, like I do it this way and then this way, and I kind of like eat into it. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. And I'm holding, the way I'm holding the pencil on the iPad is just not the same way that I would hold a brush if I was trying to do something. It's almost like you paint with your whole arm when you're
Hmm.
painting, and in the iPad it's just all wrist. But you do learn how to how to move your arm I mean your wrist in a way that you draw fast. And remember I told you a while back, I was like, I, I think you were saying, I wish I could draw faster, and I was like, you will, the more you draw, the faster you learn. Like you learn your language on how would you do this circle, and how do you do this, and and it becomes like part of your words.
Yeah.
um I have one language for traditional and then a different language for the
Mm.
illustrate, I mean for the digital. And
Yeah.
it's not the same. It's not the same language. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't know how I can make it, or if there's a possibility to do that, but it's
Yeah.
just a different way. So definitely changing mediums does change the way you draw.
Yeah. Um, well, I didn't know you had a sketchbook on your iPad, but I've used regular sketchbooks many times to explore different styles and try to develop my style. But I think it's fascinating that you have one on your iPad.
It's because I was missing, and I
Yeah, I'm
pulled up
missing
a
it
little
now.
one. I miss having a
Yeah.
sketchbook where you just draw whatever. Like I feel
Yeah.
like every time I go now is because I'm gonna do an illustration. Every time I go
Yeah.
to the iPad, because I'm gonna do work. I'm gonna do an illustration that's
Yeah.
gonna go from beginning to end, and I'm not playing anymore. Just
Yeah.
sketching and just. So I do have a little sketchbook that I'm hopefully going to take on vacation. But then I have to think about, okay, I got to take a pen and a brush and this and
Mhm.
that. Just not,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
But so what I did is I created a sketchbook in my iPad, and it is just a page, and
Mhm.
I just do little doodles there, like that have nothing to do with anything. And from there, like a few ideas have popped up that later on become an
Yeah.
illustration. But it is more freeing that I'm like, I'm just gonna sit in front of the TV or in front of this and just sketch, just do junk,
Yeah.
whatever, doesn't matter. Just start with a scribble. But yeah, I did it in the iPad because that's what goes with me everywhere. But yeah,
I
I do
this
miss
is a little
book.
bit off topic, but I noticed something I mean, I saw something recently that I think is really cool. And somebody, I don't know who the original person is, but on Faith Praise Instagram, I saw that she started a sketchbook for her new book, and that
Oh, how lovely.
you have so the whole book, the whole sketchbook will be dedicated
I
to
love
that
that.
book.
I
And
love that
and I
idea.
think it's a wonderful idea because it's not even just, I mean, she works traditionally, but it's not just illustrations. It's
Concept
you know,
design.
Yeah, it's color palettes. It's, like, and she has it tabbed off really pretty. It's really cool. You could go look at her Instagram and see
Oh,
it.
I
And she
love
got it
that.
from someone else, and I don't know who she got it from. I forget, but I think that's a really great concept, just to have um just a place to play for the book and have it all together.
I
And I
love that.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Oh,
I'm
you know
I'm
what? I have
kind
to
of
figure it
considering
out.
that. I think that would be fun, but I don't, because we work digitally. uh, I Yeah, I don't know how that would
Well,
work.
see, okay, so I'm always going like, oh, digital is amazing, but that is a downfall of it. They're
Yeah,
files, they're just
yeah.
numbers in a
You
cloud, and
can't
that's
hold
it.
it. You can't
And
flip through it. You can't. Yeah.
yeah, I can, but you know what? We could get a sketch. I love the idea of getting a sketchbook
Mhm.
for a book, because the other book that I was doing, it's just pages and pages. And so what I do is the book dummy for that book, I have a page that at the end I just put extras, and it was concept studies or anything that I was doing,
Mhm.
the character designs that I went through, because I don't want to throw it away. It is
Yeah.
just at the end of all the pages, I just have extras, and
Yeah.
that's what I put it. But still, it's not, it's just a digital thing.
Yeah.
So maybe we can get a sketchbook and print out these things, cut them out,
Mm,
tape them, paste them onto the sketchbook, and from there even continue.
yeah.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. You just well,
I want to. Yeah, I was trying to figure
whenever
out how to transition between a tradition, having the book and then working on it digitally. But I think
we
I th-
can marry the two.
yeah, I think I would like to have pencil sketches and some like traditional things in the sketchbook and have it laid out. And then yes, I could print out things. But I'd like to use the sketchbook as my jumping off point for my digital work. That's what I was thinking of doing. Um, and then maybe
Oh,
I want to see. I
I'm
wonder
in
if
love with
she
this idea.
shows. Oh, good. I think it's a great
I
idea.
am in love with the
I love
idea.
it.
Like it
I
just
love that
went
she did it,
boom. I love
and
it.
she has it all decorated. It's really pretty. It's so cool the way they
I I
it's
love
laid
this.
out. Oh, cool.
Now I'm trying to think, can I go retroactive and actually do the book that is already done? It's kind of cheating, but I'm definitely doing the second one. I love that idea. I
Well,
am stealing this. I
okay,
am stealing this, and I'm
your
using it.
dummy though is still just a dummy. I mean, if it gets picked up, you still could have a sketchbook that's, because you still have to you have to resubmit your characters, you have to
Oh yeah, for this
you know
one
what I
that I'm
mean?
working on now. I meant
Yeah.
for the one that is finished. I mean, for the book that's in
You
production. I was
probably
like, that would be
could.
cheating if I go back.
Oh, you probably, yeah, I don't know, you probably could. I
Yeah.
think what we lose digitally too, because I do kind of have this, like I'll have layers in one, I'll have one file with layers of
Yes,
my
me too. I
sketches.
know where you're going with this.
Yeah, and they're just in there as layers, and I'll turn on the layer to go to that one and work on it, and like, work on concept sketches or ideas or doodles or whatever. But they're just sitting in there in layers, and if it was in a sketchbook, they would be on pages and I would be able to see it and flip through it and look at it. So I feel what we lose in digitally is that it's just sitting there as one file, and it has, you have to actually go in there and find the layers you're looking for
Yeah.
it to work on. So I
And
think,
I'll tell you something worse. When you get to a point that you need layers, I delete those and they're gone.
yeah,
The
no, yes,
original
yes, I've done
rough
that. Yes.
sketch that started everything is
Yeah.
gone. It's
Yeah. And
lost
I,
forever.
yeah.
That initial idea.
Yeah, my seeds
Oh,
are
that's so
gone.
sad.
Yeah. No,
The seeds are
I just,
gone.
yeah, I've done that many times. And I do it because I don't have time. I'm in a rush.
Mhm.
And so I just delete it. And I'm like, oh, well.
That's it. What is today? Today is June 10th, 2022, right? Yes.
Yeah.
I had to check. I am starting that. I'm stealing it, and it's going to become, I'm going to have a sketchbook for each
Picture book.
book dummy
There, each
picture
book.
book.
Yeah.
There might be 2 in 1 if it doesn't become a book.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a concept sketchbook.
Yeah. I
That's
think
it.
it's a
I'm
great
doing
idea.
it, and
Okay.
I'm printing out, and I am Mod Podging or whatever you call it onto the thing, and there'll be collage. There'll be
Yeah.
That's it. Oh my gosh, I love the idea. Love it. Thank you, Faith Frey. Thank you, Sunny. I'm stealing this.
Yeah, I want to try it. We'll see how it works. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think it would be really fun.
I bet you the exploration that we're gonna have,
Mhm.
because we are not getting to play as much as
Yeah.
when we used to have a sketchbook, a
Mhm.
physical sketchbook. So you're right, when a sketchbook, yeah, I don't get to play that much, and I miss that. I miss the whole, like, just
Yeah.
color
And that's
and
the messy bits. I
throwing
miss
something.
Yeah, I just miss
Yeah.
being able to be messy with it, and it's there. It's not, I can't delete it later, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
always
we
there.
found a way. We
We'll go
found a
back.
way not to marry the two, to get our digital work thing that is
Yeah.
doing fantastic, and marry the traditional sketchbook and get the two, and do that, guys. I am
Yeah.
super this is weird. I got super excited about this because I really miss it, but maybe I didn't know how much I missed it until this very moment.
I've been feeling like I need a sketchbook again for a while. And I mean, I told you I've been trying to go back to pencil and paper for my initial sketches, but yeah, I've had this tugging sensation that I need that. Cute. That's cute.
I had bought this years ago.
Yeah.
I found it the other day, and I'm like, oh, it even has a little pocket.
Oh,
and I'm like,
it's adorable.
It's empty. It's empty. And I have a bunch of sketchbooks that are empty since I moved to digital. And I'm like, and I still have my old sketchbooks, and I love to go back. My favorite sketchbook, we should have done a whole episode on sketchbooks. I don't know how this turned into sketchbooks. So if you were here for style, forget it. We're into sketchbooks. We're onto sketchbooks now.
No, we could. I have like a ton of sketchbooks. Yeah. That I used
someday we should do an episode on sketchbooks, and I'm going to pull out my sketchbooks from college, because that's how long ago it's been since I really used to keep a sketchbook, like really. And my favorite one was for a media class, because it wasn't it was about like trying the trying media. So it was pages of actually exploring with it, and at the end we would do an illustration, and if it was too big, if it was in a canvas or something, we would take a picture and actually tape it, or like glue it onto the sketchbook, so it has the finished one. I love it. If I can find it, I will bring it out into
I like that
episode.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Let's wrap up this one.
Okay.
So we can record our next episode, because we're doing two. But I love that you went there and you just took us into another direction, that someday we're going to be, this is the sketchbook episode. And hopefully by then I have a sketchbook about a book.
Yeah.
So going back to style, which this one was about.
Yeah, that's okay.
So stumbling onto your style is either going to be intentional or unintentional, but it will take your intent for it to become your style, and it's only going to be through repetition until you marry it onto what you usually do, which is, oh my God, going back to sketchbooks, it's going to be like what we're doing with the sketchbook. We are marrying the digital illustrations with the ability to have a physical sketchbook. So that's what style is. You pick up something that you see, that you like, and you marry it to what you're already doing now, and you come up with something brand new, something awesome, something that excites you, and keeps you going until you need something else. You need another change of style
until it becomes
it for this episode.
Your new language.
Until it becomes your new language.
Yeah, that's it.
This was fun, short and simple, easy peasy. All right,
thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. If you would like and subscribe and click the notification bell so you can get notifications of our videos, we'd really appreciate it. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.